Mark, thanks for joining me this morning. So this Log4j thing, the whole internet's burning down. Everybody's having a horrible week right before Christmas. This thing's been crazy. I'm sure you've been swamped with calls and questions and all that about it as well. I wondered, to start out here, can you summarize at a high level, business talk, what is the issue here? Why are people caring about Log4j, and what is it?
Hi, Nathan. Yeah, if you get out into the internet and start reading, it's just a big muck of different questions and panic and things that are there. But in short, it's a piece of software that one person has written and shared with many others that performs a certain function that is just so widespread and so many different programs on the internet that it affects lots of different business software, from point of sale to web servers to games, you name it. It's just so widely used as an extra tidbit that it's a big risk across so many different platforms is a problem today.
Yeah, you mentioned games. We were laughing before the call that this whole thing started because somebody found a vulnerability in Minecraft and said, hey, check out this cool thing I can do. And then everybody realized, oh wait, that's much, much worse. And it was on a Friday or Thursday evening, Friday morning, something like that, right? Like it just
goes the weekend.
Exploded. There goes the weekend and the week, right? Bah humbug right before Christmas. The Grinch just destroyed everybody's shopping time. So you had an analogy earlier when we were talking, like how do you describe this to? I had a guy tell me one time, he says, hey, I sell meat and potatoes. I don't care about security, just fix it so I can sell meat and potatoes. Like, how do you explain this situation to that guy?
Yeah, it's not easy because, I mean, to compare writing software to a restaurant business or hotel business, it's hard to mix those two together. But if I'm writing software, if I'm writing programs, I want to write a program that is this, and this. But, I might need a function that does pretty things on the screen, like make something pink and blink, or I need to make something that writes logs to a file or something. In this very case, it's a certain section of code that someone's written that writes logs to a disk, and you're thinking, well, what does that mean to me? Well, think of it this way. If you're making the perfect sandwich, or your job is to make sandwiches, and you're going, hey, I need bread, I need my ingredients, I have my special sauce, I have all these different things, you're not going to go out there and make your own cheese. You may not churn it from the original and make something like that. So you're going to go out there and buy cheese from someone else. And that's what this software is as well. This software that is vulnerable today is a piece of software that somebody else has written that millions of different software programs have used out there. So yes, I'm comparing software to cheese at this point, but it's a good analogy to say that I'm not going to go out there and make this. I'm going to get it from somewhere else and source it.
In this case, is it fair to call it Swiss cheese? Sorry, bad joke. Yeah, you mentioned all the different things, Apache web servers, and I know VMware is vulnerable, and like literally it seems like it's everything. I know some resellers have been reaching out to me saying, hey, what do we do about this? And it always comes back to patching, right? Like that's the big thing, is people need to be first off, I've said this years and years, you've got to have an inventory. You need to know what you have, right? You need to know what software you have, what hardware you have, and what's out there, and what your patch strategy is for it. And then you've got to be intentional about having a program to go out and patch this stuff and making sure it's taken care of. For most resellers, I don't know that there's much else you can do at this point, right? If you have particular products that you know are vulnerable or likely to be vulnerable, things that use Java, if you know that, then you need to reach out to the vendor and say, hey, is there a patch available? What do I need to do? Do I need to take this offline temporarily until we can patch it? But I think that's the majority for resellers, where they're at. Is that fair?
Yeah, it really comes down to us, it's really 3 steps. It's really identify if you have it someplace, scan just to see if you have it someplace, and then patch. I know we always talk about patching and doing updates all the time, but this is a real one where you really need to sit down and patch everything that you've got and then scan again to see if you have it. And the problem that we also see right now is there was one Java vulnerability in the software, but because someone found that one, there's been a second and I think a third one now where they're saying they found 3 different holes in the Swiss cheese, if you will, that says this is what's going on. So it really comes down to scan what you have and then patch it. And if you don't own it or if you don't know the technology, you need to ask your vendor that same question saying, hey, have you scanned it? Have you patched it? Are you staying on top of this? And especially over the holiday, it may make it tough where people don't want to work or your IT people are on their vacations. It may make it tough to be able to spend the time to patch it, but this one's serious enough that you need to.
Yeah. if folks don't have the ability to scan, if you don't have the resources or the tools in place to scan, this is where you need to reach out to a partner, a third party maybe that you're working with, or just the vendors that help run your stuff, and just say, hey, what can I do here? What are my options? There are tools out there. I don't think there's like a universal, here, this one scanner, click this button and it'll tell you where your risk is. And as you mentioned, Mark, like this is a constantly changing thing. We've getting, folks have called us, customers have said, hey, what do we need to do? And we give them some guidance. And then the next day, like you mentioned, oh, there's this other exploit that was found. Okay, we have to back up. We weren't quite accurate on that. And my guess is tomorrow there'll be something else that comes out. So how long, like I'm putting you on the spot here, do these kind of things just keep changing forever, or do you think we'll get to a point where it's like, all right, that's taken care of, that's fixed, now we can worry about the next fire?
That's a tough one to say, because this one is, I would say that this one is a little bit more serious than the others, not because it's as deadly, but, and I know that we all have viruses and that kind of thing stuck in our head of dangers of the world as well. So this one is just everywhere is the problem. It's baked into so many things as a vulnerability that's there. So this one's going to last for a little bit of time because there's so many things that are out there. And unfortunately, the market that we live in with the retail providers that are there, we run into the problem of people that don't patch. Either it's customers that don't take care of their things because they just don't patch anymore, or they just have so many different technologies that they're not aware of because they integrate with this product or integrate with this product, or they get service from over here. It's just in so many different places. So if you've got a good tech vendor that takes care of you, it may be easy because you can get something in writing from them saying, yep, we're on it, we're doing this, and everything is great. But if you're doing some of this yourself, or you've got part-time IT that also does other things, it may be really hard to stay on top of this because you don't really want to spend your time patching security stuff. But this is one of those times where you need to put everything else down and take care of business.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. I don't want to get too technical, but several years ago, everybody was talking about deserialization when it came to Java flaws, and deserialization is really at the root of this. So the tech guys on the call are going to be like, oh, not deserialization again. That's complex. But ultimately, that's what this is. It's another place where user input was able to basically be injected into an application and then run on the system and do bad stuff, right? Some untrusted user input is able to do bad stuff. That's ultimately what we're talking about here. But the problem with Java applications in particular is it's not always as simple as, hey, let me go update this server and I'm done, right? Because a lot of times those libraries are built into a particular application. So you may have, here's my Java server and I patched it, but I've got 3 other applications on it that have their own individual versions of that library. And that can get really complicated. I know we get questions sometimes of like, hey, we have this old system and somebody built this, they're not around anymore. They don't exist, or that developer's gone. We don't even know what we have, where we go. So there's definitely complexity out there. And like you said, this is one of those things that you may just have to reach out to somebody for help if you don't know for sure.
Yeah, and you're also going to run into it with patching. I mean, if you turn your IT guys and say, okay, we've got 10 servers, are they all patched? They might say, well, yes. And then they realize, oh, wait a minute, one of these servers has another program on it, so this one's kind of patched or halfway patched. So you're going to have a lot of back and forth on this one. So it's not going to be an easy thing to chase.
Yeah, or it was patched yesterday, and then this new new version of the vulnerability came out, and so now we have to patch again today, right? There's going to be some tail chasing here for a little while as we figure that out.
And this isn't just something where it's going to be I don't need to worry about it because the attackers aren't going to find me. There are specific attack groups at this point that are doing ransomware, that are looking for this bug and attacking it to take people down. So we have had calls already over the weekend of people saying, hey, one of our vendors is down or being threatened, or they've been hit with ransomware because someone has found this and exploited it to lock down systems. So there's serious groups already attacking using this tool.
Yeah, my fear, this seems like a very wormable type of vulnerability, and by that I mean it's a vulnerability that can easily be used to bake into a worm that just spreads itself around the internet quickly. Would you agree with that?
Yep. There are plenty of scanners out there doing it where we're seeing them scan. I haven't seen too many where they are attacking with it, but you're absolutely right. The ones that are attacking VMware, and I don't want to get too nerdy as well, but the VMware attacks are using it for lateral movement. So they're using it to let me get into this server so I can then get into the corporate network and then do these things and do more. So it is very much a see how far I can get in using this tool.
Yeah, as a pen tester, I know you guys do a lot of work too. I'm kind of excited about this. Like this one is we're gonna get a lot of use out of this over the next couple of years. I think because those internal apps that people think, oh, well, that's not important. I don't have to maintain that or patch that as much because it's only internal facing. That's going to allow for a lot of pivoting and privilege escalation over the years, I think.
Yes, you don't have to use the RPC attack from 2008 anymore.
Exactly.
Okay.
The other stuff that's not patched.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would say for vendors? We talked about resellers a little bit, and we kind of talked about what some of the merchants need to do. Well, before we go there, I wanted to add one thing for resellers. As your merchants are coming to you, we talk a lot at RSPA about being the trusted advisor, right? We put a lot of effort into, we want to give you the information that you have so that when your merchants come to you, you can say, here's what you need to know, or at least I'll go find out. I know who to talk to, right? And have that chain of people that you can refer to. So for our resale members, you need to make sure you understand, like, hey, when my merchants come to me and ask me questions, don't just say, I don't know, go find out somewhere else, go read the news. Like, be that advisor and say, you know what, let me find out, let me help you out, let me get the information for you. For vendor members that are building products, is there any other guidance that you would give them or things they should be doing at this point to protect their customers?
That's a good question. I think my biggest fear, if I were to put myself in the vendor shoes, is, am I doing everything that I have in-house, or am I outsourcing my development to someone else? And was I using a different team a year ago than what I'm using now after I've built it? So do I really know what's under the hood of my own product that I'm selling? If you
Yeah.
don't know, that may be a problem. Or if I'm using integration, am I on only Apache servers, or am I also on other servers that may cause a problem? So knowing what technologies you're using is something that you need to inventory at this point if you don't already have that.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, like any issue like this, always try to be the first one out there putting that information out in front of your customers and saying, hey, this is what we've done to avoid this issue. This is what you need to do to protect yourself with this situation. Nobody likes that the spamminess when you get too much, when you're constantly talking to people and sending out messages. But for situations like this that people are really concerned about, you need to be kind of forward facing with, here are the issues. And if you're vulnerable, be upfront about that, right? Like, people need to know, hey, this product's vulnerable and here's what you need to do to patch it or temporarily mitigate the issue or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's never easy to come out and say, hey, for my 300 customers, tell them all that we did suffer a breach. So being in front of it and saying this is what we're doing ahead of time and communicate, I think is a better approach. I agree with you.
Yeah. People are forgiving when you're upfront about, hey, this happened, right? Sorry, it happened. Here's what we're doing to move forward and make it better. So.
Yep.
Well, Mark, thanks for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. I know you're on vacation already, and everybody else is wanting to head that way if we can get this stuff knocked out. But I hope you have enjoyed the holiday season, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Yep. Hopefully we won't meet again over this. Hopefully things go well. So thanks, Nathan.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Yep.